Hi everyone, today I'm going to talk to you about IKEA's campaign for launching new stores in Malaysia, catering to the publics that they now have choices. IKEA's story begins in 1926 when its founder Ingvar Kamprad was born. He was raised on the farm in Eltaryd in the parish of Angenard, in a small town called Småland in the south of Sweden. In 1943, his first commercial business was started in the name of IKEA, initially a mail order business selling pencils, postcards, and other merchandise. The name IKEA is an acronym deriving from the initial letters of his first and last name and the farm he was born on in the parish that he lived in Sweden. In 1948, furniture manufacturing was an additional business for many farmers in Småland, which happens to be the name of the children's play place located in each IKEA. Furniture was introduced in the IKEA business as a complement to the general merchandise, and that being a huge success, Kamprad starts exploring innovative solutions such as furniture design, self-assembly, and advertising. In 1951, the first annual IKEA furniture catalog is published in Sweden. And in 1955, the IKEA business starts designing its own furniture. Over time, flat packaging and self-assembly become part of the concept. IKEA is a Swedish-founded Dutch-based multinational group that designs and sells ready-to-assemble furniture, kitchen appliances, and home accessories. It's been the world's largest furniture retailer since at least 2008. IKEA's mission is to offer a wide range of well-designed, functional home furnishing products at low prices so that as many people as possible can afford them. Their vision is to create a better everyday life for the many people, and their values are strong traditions of work. They work hard to achieve quality at affordable prices for customers through optimizing the entire value chain by building long-term supplier relationships, investing in highly automated production, and producing large volumes and sustainability. Their vision also goes beyond home furnishings. They want to create a better everyday for people impacted by their business. More about IKEA. IKEA's philosophy is built on the belief that providing great quality furniture with great looking design at affordable prices, and it thanks its consumer that they have been able to do that thus far. You're playing a big part. IKEA wouldn't have it without you. Early in the design process, IKEA decides how much they think something should cost so as many people as possible can afford it. Then they start looking for the right materials and the smartest ways to produce the product. They hate transporting air. That's why they avoid doing it. This concept has been a part of their history since the beginning. Thus, their flat packs make it possible to transport products at a low cost with a small impact on the environment. Plus, your new sofa, chair, or table becomes so much easier to bring home. In every IKEA, they put you in the showroom first. This is where they've set up vignettes for different styles of bedrooms for adults, students, and kids to fit in their homes, apartments, or dorms. They have kitchens, living rooms, and bathrooms set up in different styles. Then at the end of every store, you'll find the self-service area. That's where you're becoming part of IKEA. By picking your flat-packed items yourself, it's possible for them to keep the price down. Another much appreciated benefit of the self-service is that you're able to bring your new purchases home that very same day. After getting your furniture home, it's time to assemble, and that's when everything comes together, literally. Not only the actual furniture, but also the philosophy of IKEA. They do their part, you do yours. Therefore, collectively, it's possible to offer great quality products at a low price. Now, IKEA met with some challenges. IKEA being a Swedish brand entering the market outside of Sweden, even more specifically outside of Europe, they faced a major challenge because the business model that they had been using was not replicable in parts of the world. The business model it has been using in Sweden suited the Swedish audience and not the rest of the world. They soon realized that the local culture was a challenge and there was a definite need to adapt to it. With each new market, IKEA met the same challenge. But as it swept to China and the rest of Asia, it met an even greater opponent, local laws. That was their major obstacle. In the Asian countries, and particularly India, China, and Malaysia, the challenge of bureaucracy was enormous. Red tape mostly discourages external businesses. To meet the challenge, the company entered into a joint venture that helped it overcome that legal barrier. Another challenge was that Asian customers see the Western brands with a bias, and changing their perception was very difficult. To change this perception, Western brands needed to connect with the local culture. If you want to be liked, you must focus on how a culture sees you and your brand. Another challenge was stipulations by the governments that at least 30% of IKEA's inventory must be made in country. This has led to the company into a head-on fight with poor manufacturing quality, local labor laws standards, and miles of red tape. In India, for example, it's projected to become the fastest growing nation in the world over the next 2 years. According to the World Bank, in light of China's economic slowdown, Malaysia is also seeing rapid growth in their economy and currently has the largest IKEA in the Southeast Asia. With a recent report pointing to sustained growth in consumer spending, it seems natural that retailers would want to establish a presence in this potentially lucrative market of over 600 million people. IKEA, being accustomed to European Union criteria that governs limits for chemical content in items such as tabletops and cutlery, for example, IKEA found that tabletops from specifically Indian suppliers contained unsafe levels of formaldehyde, and steel plates leached chemicals into food. I mentioned India and China in this because at the time of expansion, they were Malaysia's closest suppliers of product for IKEA. And the company had issues with workers who wanted to work overtime for more pay, which contradicted IKEA's internal daily limit of 8-hour work limits. IKEA identified the strategic challenges and made attempts to overcome them. So it's already altered its strategy and started selling products that were more suited to local taste and needs. After that, the brand changed its pricing strategy to suit local needs. Not just its pricing strategy, but the company also changed its business style and furniture models so that they could match the local choice. To meet local laws, IKEA formed that joint venture. That venture served as a good platform to test the market, understand local needs, and adapt its strategies accordingly. It understood early on that Asian apartments were small and customers required functional, modular solutions. The company made slight modifications to its furniture to meet local needs. The store layouts reflect the typical sizes of apartments and included a balcony. IKEA built a number of factories in Asia, specifically China, and increased local sourcing of materials. While globally 30% of IKEA's range comes from China, about 65% of the volume sales in the country in Malaysia come from local sourcing. These local factories resolved the problem of high import taxes. The company also started forming local quality inspections closer to manufacturing to save on repair costs. IKEA started targeting the young middle-class population. This category of customers has relatively higher incomes, is better educated, and is more aware of Western styles. Targeting this segment helped IKEA project itself as an aspirational brand. This was a massive change in strategy as IKEA was targeting the mass market in other parts of the world. IKEA also had to tweak its marketing strategy. In most markets, the company uses its products catalog as a major marketing tool. In Asia, however, the catalog provided opportunities for competitors to imitate the company's products. Indeed, local competitors copied the IKEA's designs and then offered similar products at lower prices. IKEA decided not to react as it realized that the Asian laws were not strong enough to deter such activities. Instead, the company used Asian local social media and the microblogging website Weibo to target the urban youth. IKEA also adjusted its store's location strategy. In Europe and in the US, where most customers use personal vehicles, IKEA stores are usually located in the suburbs. In Asia, however, most customers use public transportation. So the company set up its outlets on the outskirts of cities, which are connected by rail and metro networks. Currently, IKEA offers free transportation buses from parking areas to its stores. As IKEA prepared to expand in Southeast Asia, specifically Malaysia, its China experience came in handy. It understood that in emerging markets, global brands may not replicate their success using low price strategy. There always will be local manufacturers who will have a lower cost structure. It is more important what customers think about the company rather than the other way around. IKEA wanted to be known as the low-price provider of durable furniture, while Asian consumers looked at IKEA as an aspirational brand. The politics of Malaysia is based on a parliamentary democracy with a federal constitutional monarchy, in which the king is head of state and the prime minister is head of the government. The paramount ruler, commonly referred to as the Yang di Pertuan Agong, is the head of state as well as a leader of the Islamic faith in Malaysia. Malaysia consists of 13 states that have their own constitution, which must be compatible with the federal constitution. Each state has an executive council which deals with non-federal matters under a chief minister, answerable to elected state assemblies. Malaysia has 2 constituencies of law. One is for the entire nation and is set by parliament and requires 2/3 majority to amend. And the second is Sharia, or Islamic law, which applies to Muslims. The 13 states normally determine Sharia. Their justice system was originally based on the British one, operates in tandem with Sharia laws, and mixed legal system of English common law, Islamic law, and customary law. Malaysia's Corruption Perception Index. Over 2/3 of the 176 countries and territories in this year's index fall below the midpoint of Corruption Perception Index scale of 0, which is highly corrupt, to 100, which is very clean. Malaysia is the 55th least corrupt nation out of 175 countries, according to the 2016 Corruption Perceptions Index reported by Transparency International. The global average score is 43, indicating epidemic corruption in the country's public sector. Top scoring countries, yellow on the map, are far outnumbered by orange and red countries where citizens face the tangible impact of corruption on a daily basis. The corruption scale looks a lot like this: domestic bribery between private to public, private to private, extortion, corruption of foreign public officials, untrustworthy and badly functioning public institution, and anti-corruption laws skirted or ignored. Malaysia is actually one of Asia's most vibrant economies. From an economy dominated by the production of raw materials such as tin and rubber, Malaysia today has a diversified economy and has become a leading exporter of electrical appliances, electronic parts and components, and natural gas. After the Asian financial crisis and the global financial crisis, Malaysia recovered rapidly. Less than 1% of Malaysian households live in extreme poverty, and the government's focus has shifted towards addressing the well-being of the poorest 40% of the population, known as the bottom 40. Following the removal of broad-based subsidies, the government has gradually moved toward more targeted measures to support the poor and vulnerable, mainly in the form of cash transfers to low-income households. Malaysia's near-term economic outlook remains favorable, reflecting a well-diversified and open economy that has successfully weathered the impact of external shocks. Domestic demand is expected to continue to anchor economic growth, supported by continued income growth and a stable labor market. While an improving external environment contribute positively to demand for Malaysia's tradable goods and services, accelerating structural reforms enhance public sector performance and boost the productivity of public spending are vital to sustain robust growth in challenging external environment. Malaysia's literacy rate is 94.6%, so it's pretty healthy and growing. Malaysia's economic freedom score is 74.5, making its economy the 22nd freest in the 2018 index. Its overall score has increased by 0.7 of a point, with higher scores of trade freedom and fiscal health offsetting a decline in the business freedom indicator. Malaysia is ranked 6th among the 43 countries in the Asia-Pacific region, and its overall score is above the regional and world averages. Malaysia has become an upper-middle income country that helps to attract additional investments in value-added production of high technology, knowledgeable-based goods and services. To enhance the competitiveness, the government has liberalized some services and adopted fiscal reforms to achieve a balanced budget by 2020 through tax reform and reduced subsidies. The trade regime is relatively open, and there is no mandated minimum wage, and labor regulations are not rigid. The judicial system's vulnerability to political influence is a significant challenge to the rule of law. In Malaysia, the economy system is mixed economy, which includes free enterprise and government control or some form of direct intervention by the government. One of Asia's most vibrant economies, Malaysia's 30+ million population is dominated by ethnic Malays, who make up 60% of the population, Chinese, who are one of the wealthiest communities in the nation, comprise of 23% of the population, and Indians forming the smallest section. Freedom of the press is not free. Freedom of expression is constitutionally guaranteed, but restricted in practice. Most private publications are controlled by parties or businesses allied with the government, as are most private television stations, which generally censor programming according to government guidelines. State outlets reflect government views. Books and films are directly censored or banned for profanity, violence, and political or religious content. The internet is an outlet for some freedom of discussion and the exposure of political corruption, but the Malaysian Communication and Multimedia Commission monitors websites and can order the removal of material considered provocative or subversive. In 2012, Amendment to the 1950 Evidence Act holds owners and editors of websites, providers of web hosting services, and owners of computers or mobile devices accountable for information published through their services or property. The government engages in legal harassment of critical voices, charging them under defamation laws. The Official Secrets Act and the Sedition Act, all of which include imprisonment as a possible penalty. Under Malaysia's Printing Press and Publications Act, newspapers must apply to the government each year to renew their operating licenses. Campaigns led by a prime minister who is still embroiled in a major corruption scandal targeted journalists and media outlets deemed overly independent and critical of the government. Malaysia is ashamed by its human rights record, even though it continues to brazenly sit on the UN's Human Rights Council. This time around, Malaysia is ranked 143 out of 196 countries worldwide, only 30 rankings away from Zimbabwe. It basically means that Malaysia's press is not free. There are a slew of laws that constrain both traditional and online media from being critical of the regime. One of these, the Sedition Act of 1948, was widely used in the 2015 and 2016, leading to the detention of more than 150 Malaysians, including journalists. Despite these political, legal, and economic constraints, the internet and social media have continued to grow. Internet penetration rates have increased tremendously. While internet news medias have captured the imagination of an increasing urbanized Malaysian public, many have attributed this growth to the Bill of Guarantees that came with the launch, a pledge by the regime that the internet will not be censored. However, use of other legal constraints, including the Sedition Act, to harass and detain journalists, academics, politicians, and activists has in reality voided that guarantee. Newspaper circulation, even hugely popular, continues to fall. Their unyielding support of an alleged corrupt regime made them lose large segments of the rising middle-class Malaysian audience. Malaysia's growing internet penetration rate is certainly one of the main reasons why online news portals have become the medium of choice for many for a variety of news. Malaysians spend 18 hours using the internet each week, of which a little over 7 hours a week are on watching online videos. 42% of Malaysians watch TV content and movies via the internet, and 80% of Malaysians stream or download online video content each month. Malaysia's digital overview, over 31 million in their population, 76 of that is urban, while 24 is rural. Over 21 million internet users, over 20 million users use social media networking sites, and over 44 million have mobile subscriptions. Top ranking social media sites in Malaysia are Facebook, WordPress, and Blogger. LinkedIn, Twitter, Tumblr, Pinterest, Reddit, Google, and Scribd. Devices used for the news, smartphones outweigh computers and tablets. And sources of news, 86% get their news from online, including social media, and then social media only of 67%, followed by TV at 54%, and still print at 45%. Hofstede's cultural dimensions of power distance. Malaysia scores very high on this dimension with a 100, which means that people accept a hierarchy order in which everybody has a place in which needs no further justification. Subordinates expect to be told what to do, and the ideal boss is a benevolent autocrat. Challenges to leadership are not well received. Individualism. Malaysia scores a low 26 and is considered a collective society. This is manifest in a close long-term commitment to the member group, like family or extended relationships. Loyalty in a collectivist culture is paramount and overrides most other societal rules and regulations. Such a society fosters strong relationships where everyone takes responsibility for their fellow members in their group. In collectivistic societies, any offenses lead to shame and loss of face. Masculinity. With an intermediate score of 50, a preference for this dimension could not be determined. Uncertainty avoidance. Malaysia scores 36 on this dimension and thus has a low preference for avoiding uncertainty. Low UAI societies maintain a more relaxed attitude in which practice counts more than principles, and deviance from the norm is more easily tolerated. Additionally, people believe that there should be no more rules than are necessary, and if they are ambiguous or do not work, they should be abolished or changed. Schedules are flexible, hard work is undertaken when necessary, but not for its own sake. Precision and punctuality do not come naturally. Innovation is not seen as threatening. Long-term orientation, here Malaysia scores a 41, and that means that Malaysia has a normative culture. People in such societies have a strong concern with establishing the absolute truth. They are normative in their thinking. They exhibit great respect for traditions, a relatively small propensity to save for the future, and a focus on achieving quick results. For indulgence, Malaysia scores 57, which indicates their culture of indulgence. People in societies classified by a high score of indulgence generally exhibit a willingness to realize their impulses and desires with regard to enjoying life and having fun. They possess a positive attitude and have a tendency towards optimism. In addition, they place a higher degree of importance on leisure time, act as they please, and spend money as they wish. Malaysia's SWOT diagram. Internal strengths are strong government support in developing the creative content sector. One of their weaknesses is limited domestic market. One of their external opportunities is a relatively high GDP per capita. And one of their external threats is a limited size of domestic population. IKEA's target audience in Malaysia, primary resource for this was a survey done. IKEA identified that females of the average of 38 visited IKEA the most. Their middle-aged group, which is part of their primary audience, are working professionals, salaried workers who have shown high spending ability and higher acceptance of new products and new ideas. Their secondary audiences are young adults who own apartments. They have manageable financial capabilities, acceptance of new products and innovative concepts, and usually are office workers. Students, more price conscious due to limited budget spending and value for money products, and are first-time furniture shoppers. And then lastly, children. Parents pay more attention to their child's physical and cognitive responses. Therefore, IKEA caters to this particularly well with offering free 45-minute childcare in Smallland, which is their little play place, which includes all the offerings found in the children's section of the showroom. Now onto Malaysia's psychographics. The key industries to work are electronics and semiconductors, light manufacturing, palm oil, petroleum, natural gas, rubber, and timber. Malaysians like to travel a lot. Their average travelers are at the age of 28, mostly female. They travel mostly for leisure and business, followed by visiting friends, shopping, and balik kampung, which is return to the village. It is a Malay term for the massive exodus during the festive season, such as Hari Raya and the Chinese New Year, which is in Malaysia, Singapore, and Brunei. During this time, the migrants and migrant workers return to their home village. Their favorite activities are shopping, sightseeing, and dining. So now for the campaign analysis, we'll take a look at the approach taken towards specific audiences by IKEA as a build-up to the grand opening of the Malaysian market. The campaign teases audience with the promise of choice to launch IKEA's third new store in Malaysia, the biggest in the southeast of Asia to date. There are some things in life that you can't choose, like your mother-in-law or your daughter's boyfriend or even your wife's beloved cats. But a new campaign for the IKEA Tubero store in Johor Bahru reveals that with the new IKEA in town, you can choose from thousands of home furnishing pieces to ease the many tensions domestic life brings. The campaign features 4 films supported by digital, TV, print, outdoor, and radio. The series of films capturing everyday domestic life with several subtle observation humor.
Choose her boyfriend, but you can choose your table. Choice. Arriving 16 November. Choose who you wake up with, but you can choose your bookshelf. Choice. Arriving 16 November. Choose your mother-in-law, but you can choose her chair. Choice. Arriving 16 November. What happens at night, but you can choose your bed. Choice. Arriving 16 November.
The campaign teases audience with the promise of the choice to launch IKEA's third new store in Malaysia, the biggest one to date. The campaign start date is estimated the week of November 16, 2017, and IKEA's tagline is IKEA, now there's a choice. There were various promotions and festivities held at the IKEA store for the 3 days, such as a photo competition for IKEA gift vouchers, as well as customers got 10% back on vouchers with minimum purchase. Customers had the opportunity to participate in games, treasure hunts, live bands, free balloons, cotton candy, and even a living room talk show with interior designer of IKEA from Indonesia. Their objections were to tease the audience, reveal that there's a new IKEA in town, and the series of films definitely captured the subtle domestic life of the Malaysians. IKEA produced another video that generated a lot of interest on opening day at another Malaysian store. It generated even more excitement, incorporating the genre of music, dance, and culture catered to the target audience, and the retailer's products physically can't contain their excitement. This Panda video is a funny new music video which showcases various products seen celebrating by dancing ferociously. The new store is located in Kuala Lumpur, suburb of Shiraz, which is pronounced Shiraz. And so the video has a mildly risque refrain, "Get Shiraz to Shiraz," which sounds a lot like "Get your ass to Shiraz." The rest of the video has plenty of puns too, with the products' names put to good use in song lyrics like, "You people want to dance, you're noodly only ones, join the Judero and Girlies, moms and poppies." With a catchy tune and funny pun and a twerking panda, they use all the tricks in the book to make sure people knew the new IKEA was in town. The music video fits perfectly with the occasion to get Malaysians from all walks of life excited about the biggest housewarming party in Malaysia. Here you go.
You people wanna dance, you're not the only one. Join the Judero and Girlies and the puppies. Follow the lyric, twist it, wriggle it, shake your arse. Hold it, let's go. Come on, just get your ass to your ass. Come on, just get your ass to your ass. Come on, just get your ass to your ass. Get your ass to IKEA. You say you want to swivel, show your method off. Put your hands in the air, got speed, got all day. Is that your best store? Is that all you got? Don't mess around, you gotta party hard.
In this home. Oh, come on now, just nod along. It's that time to party. You need to push it. Get sensual. Yeah, sensual. You're a rock star.
Come on, just get your ass to your ass. Come on, just get your ass to your ass. Come on, just get your ass to your ass. Get your ass to IKEA. La 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 la.
IKEA generated a lot of press coverage from media outlets, their website, and social media, with over 45,000 customers attending opening day, making it Malaysia's biggest housewarming party. It started with a traditional Swedish breakfast attended by family members of IKEA owners, IKEA senior management, and Malaysian dignitaries. This was followed by a traditional Swedish log cutting ceremony to the tune of ABBA. The IKEA Shiraz store is the 8th largest in the world, and it's expected to be in the top 3 for daily visitor numbers out of the 400 plus IKEA stores globally. In summary, Malaysia is a significant market for IKEA, with retail stores in the country being among IKEA's most visited globally. Malaysia has been encouraging large local conglomerates and multinational companies to use the country as a gateway to the region through various initiatives, including the Principal Hub scheme that allows companies to centralize their global activities such as procurement and distribution. IKEA currently has stores in Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, and Indonesia. More are planned for the Philippines and Vietnam. although launch dates have yet to be announced. It's clear from this that people are buying the idea of IKEA. They buy the brand. IKEA's identity is found on a commitment of good design at low prices. 30 years ago, Kent Friend set out his philosophy as, quote, "We have decided once and for all to side with the many. What is good for our customers is also, in the long run, good for us," end quote. He wanted to, quote, "create a better everyday life for the majority of people," end quote. Now the ideas of flat packs and IKEA are inseparable. The practicality of the invention meant that transportation costs for furniture could be greatly reduced, and the assembly cost of putting the furniture together could be passed on to the customer. IKEA customers participate willingly because they understand their role in reducing the price they pay for furniture. More fun facts about IKEA. They have a colorful, playful, and fun style. They name their products after people, places, and things. As I roll through my credits, I'll list some other fun facts. 1 million customers visit IKEA every day. The average customer makes 3.5 store visits per year. They haven't met me. The average age of a customer is 42. 60% of them are female. 150 million meatballs are served at IKEA restaurants. IKEA has over 100,000 co-workers, and 145 million catalogs are printed in 48 editions in 25 languages. There are currently 412 IKEA stores in 49 countries. The key takeaway is IKEA is a brand of many. For some people it's heaven, for others it's hell. The infernal side of IKEA comes through in the pandemonium at store openings, like riots in Saudi Arabia and chaos in Edmonton. But some people find it divine because the brand has democratized our living spaces. Once we regarded furniture as family assets, table, chairs, and beds were handed down from generation to generation. Because of the nature of this process, furniture was not yet seen as a fashion item until now. Yet in reality, it is IKEA that is a very successful business and has the figures to prove it. Profit margins are 18% and sales have tripled in the past decade. Yet prices have been reduced by 15 to 20% over the past 5 years. That's what makes IKEA so different. It really has become the brand of many. Recommendations for IKEA would be to keep thinking outside their proverbial box with new and innovative design creations. As for its publics, IKEA can keep its publics excited about its brand with its edgy, fun, energetic, and innovative public relations campaigns with a wide yet specific target. Because their objective was successful, it was soon announced that IKEA will invest $212 million to set up one of its largest regional distribution and supply chain centers in Malaysia. The supply chain center will manage an inventory worth $6.6 billion, catering to IKEA's growth in the Asian region. The new 100,000 square meter warehouse will supply the 12 existing retail stores in the region. IKEA plans to grow its number of stores in the Asian area to 20 by 2026. The establishment of the warehouse also adds momentum toward making Malaysia's region distribution hub a preferred logistic gateway to Asia. There is no formula for success that fits all marketing strategies when a global brand decides to try a new market, except perhaps unconditional acceptance and responsiveness to changes. The greatest challenge is to adapt constantly. It's essential for successful marketing campaigns to take into consideration the local approach versus the global or regional desire for standardization. One-size-fits-all approach is rarely reality. A constant global brand promise is a desirable asset, but what makes a real difference is to be brave and ready to change the target audience and build a differentiating promise. IKEA made all necessary adjustments to make sure there was no mismatch in its growth ambitions and brand promise and became an aspirational brand in the Southeast Asian area. Lastly, I'll leave you with this. IKEA ran another fun PR campaign targeting a mass audience with a fun look at their pun on a notebook or MacBook with their campaign called BookBook. Thank you for watching.
You know, once in a while, something comes along that changes the way we live. A device so simple and intuitive, using it feels almost familiar. 2015 IKEA catalog. It's not a digital book or an e-book. It's a book. The first thing to note is no cables, not even a power cable. The 2015 IKEA catalog comes fully charged and the battery life is eternal. The interface is 7.5 by 8 inches, but can expand to 15 by 8 inches. The navigation is based on tactile touch technology that you can actually feel. Content comes pre-installed via 328 high-definition pages of inspiring home furnishing ideas. To start browsing, simply touch and drag. Right to left to move forwards, left to right to move backwards. Notice something else? That's right, no lag. Each crystal clear page loads instantaneously, no matter how fast you scroll. If you want to get a quick overview, just hold it in the palm of your hand and using just your thumb, speed browse the content. If you find something you want to save for later, you can simply bookmark it. And even if you close the application, you can easily find the bookmark again. Amazing. What about multiple users? For that, we've introduced a simple color coding system to avoid confusion. If you want to share a particularly inspiring item, you literally share it. Another special feature is password protection, which is voice activated. Excuse me, that's mine. At IKEA, we feel that technology this life enhancing should be in the hands of everyone. So the 2015 IKEA catalog is free. You can download one from your mailbox, the one you open with a key. If it's not there, try refresh the next day. Or you can upload yourself to the IKEA store and find one there. Experience the power